Hi team, I hope you're all well. Today is December 2nd and I am coming to you today with my NEWTs Readathon wrap up. It's pretty dismal outside, so I am hoping that this will be bright enough. It looks alright, so it's definitely a lot brighter than it was when I tried to record it last night, so we're doing better than yesterday. So this is going to take a while as there are a lot of books to get through, some of which were on my Kindle or I borrowed from the library and I've had to go back. So I will be showing them on my other phone, but I'll let you know what I thought of each book, what rating I gave it, but unless I really liked the book, I won't go into much detail about the book, otherwise we'll be here until Christmas, which isn't far off obviously, but it's still a while off. So without further ado, let's get into it. I have my little list down here of each book and what the prompts were, and then my ratings in my bullet journal. So let's get into it. So the first book was for Ancient Runes. For Acceptable, it was a book set in the past, so I read Prisoner in Alcatraz by Teresa Brislin. This was your standard prisoner ends up in Alcatraz, ends up finding a group of people that are trying to break out and ends up trying to break out, failing miserably. It was a short story. It was fairly good. I enjoyed it. I enjoy anything to do with Alcatraz, to be honest. I've been, so it's quite nice to sort of be able to relate to it a little bit more. I do enjoy things like that. So yeah, it was alright. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, so I didn't mind it. It was okay. It wasn't fantastic, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. That was actually, I think, the first book I might have read, or it might have been the second. This next one's definitely one of the first 2 that I read. So for Exceeding Expectations, one of the most ancient books on your shelves that you haven't read. So this book has been on my Kindle for the longest time, probably a few years, and I wouldn't mind. It's literally maybe 30 pages long, if that. Very short book. It's called In a New York Minute by Eleanor Moran. I've obviously picked it up because it's got New York involved in it, and I was not impressed. I don't know, I just didn't like it. It had a good story to it, but it should have been longer, and I understand the point of short stories, but I think the idea of a short story is that you are able to cram the story into a short amount of time, but it still makes sense. It's still got the effect of a novel. Whereas this didn't have that for me because it was too short. It should have been expanded into either a full novel or a novella or something, but it just wasn't. It was too short. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I just didn't like it, and it was not a great start to my readathon. So thankfully it got better and better as time went on, but yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. And then for Outstanding in Ancient Runes, book translated from another language. I read The Girl from the Other Side, book 2. I read the first one in my Owls. It is a manga, so it's been translated from Japanese, I assume. It's a black and white manga. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I'm enjoying the story of this young girl, and she lives with to be touched by an outsider is to become an outsider. So she lives with this guy who is an outsider, and if she touches him or another outsider touches him, she'll become one of them. But in this story, a thing comes to light where that may not be the case. So I need to get the next one so I can find out what happens. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I do enjoy these ones. They are good stories. The first one was my first ever manga that I picked up. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. So that gave me an Outstanding for Ancient Runes. And then I took Arithmancy. So for Acceptable, a book of at least 300 pages. If you watched my TBR video for this readathon, you will be fully aware that a lot of things have changed. A lot of them haven't. So only one book changed for Ancient Runes, for example, which was the first book. But you will notice that a lot of books have changed for reasons either I didn't enjoy the start of the book and I wasn't going to get through it, or I decided to pick something shorter, or I just switched some of the books round so that I could fit something else in that I wanted to read. So this book ended up being The Price of Silver by Josie Jaffrey. This is the second in her Solus Invicti series. The first one is A Bargain in Silver. I will link below the full review that I did on my blog for that. Josie sent me the first book in this series to review, and I absolutely loved it. And then the next 3 books, so the rest of the series, came out with new covers, and I decided to buy them all the other day. And it made it so much easier because once I'd finished Bargain in Silver a couple of months ago, I started reading this one straight away on my Kindle, but I was just struggling with it on my Kindle. It is quite a thick book. It's 396 pages, which isn't too bad, but on a Kindle I do find it takes ages. I prefer to have the physical book with something that sort of size, although at some point there is a cut-off point at which I'd just rather listen to it because it is too long for me to... It's just, in my head, I overthink it and I just can't read it. So I absolutely loved this. Obsessed with this series. I have got the next 2 books, thank God, because I just couldn't imagine having read this and having to wait for the next book to come out. It would kill me. So I am excited to get on to the next 2 books, which are on my December TBR, so I am going to finish those, well, start and finish them this month. But yes, I loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, obviously, because if you didn't notice, I love it. It's amazing. Obsessed. Book number 2 for Arithmancy, For Exceeding Expectations, book that ends on an even numbered page. I read Lock and Key by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. This is a graphic novel, which is an extremely good graphic novel. I really enjoyed it. There were some bits where I lost it a little bit, but I did overall enjoy the book. I thought it was very, very good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. I do want to get the next one. I want to continue with this series. I thought it was really good. So yeah, I'd recommend it. It's good. Then I read, what did I read next? So for Arithmancy Outstanding, a book that's not first in a series, I went for Second Son by Lee Child. I love Lee Child's Jack Reacher series. I'm obsessed with it. I love the films. Although it pisses me off about Tom Cruise, I've probably said this before, but I do love the books. They're amazing. I've read Killing Floor and I've read, I think it's 61 Hours, I can't remember, but I do love them. So I've gone through quite a few short stories of Lee Child's in this readathon. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was good. It sort of focused more on Jack's brother Joe, but it was nice for a bit of a change and it all just being Jack. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. So I got an outstanding in Arithmancy as well, so that's 2 outstandings I got. So then Astronomy, stars on the cover, I read Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. This has only got 1 star on the cover, but either way there's a star on the cover, it counts. I actually read this as part of the Lalathon that I took part in the middle of November as well. If you want to know more about that, there is one of my weekly oh my god, what's wrong with me? Weekly updates that goes on about the Lalathon. Also, my TBR goes on about it as well. I'll link them below anyway, so you can check it out. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. There is a second one in the series, so I may read that as well. I actually listened to this on Audible. I did enjoy it. It was just because it was easy. I didn't have the book, and I wasn't intending to buy the book, so it was easier just to listen to it on Audible. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It was alright. Not bad. Second book for Astronomy, For Exceeding Expectations, a book that has the word sky in the title. I read The Moon Pharaoh's Night Sky by Anne Stryker. This is the second of Anne Stryker's books that I've read now, and I've really enjoyed both of them. I thought they were really good. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It's got fairies in it, and it's the first book I think that I've ever read with fairies in it, possibly. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I love her style of writing. It's really, really good. I'd highly recommend it. Really enjoyed it. Outstanding for Astronomy, story that's set on a different planet or world. Again, another book that is involved in Lalathon. So I read The Martian by Andy Weir. I listened to this rather than reading it, because I'm sat at a desk for my job all the time, 7.5 hours a day, and it's a quiet office. It's a very quiet office. There's only 4 of us work there full time. Another one comes in on a Friday, but it's a very quiet office. So I have so much time, silent time in the day, that I'll either be listening to music or just it'll be quiet. So I listen to books instead, and it's a good way of getting through books quite quick. So I listened to this and I loved it. I loved the narrator. He was really, really funny. I'm obsessed with the film for this. I saw the film for this obviously like when it came out, and this just reinforces the film. The film is very, very good compared to the book, but I loved the book. The book is like a million times better, obviously, but I did enjoy the film, and it's just hilarious. I loved it. I thought it was really, really funny. The amount of research that must have gone into this to be able to make it seem like it is real life. The amount of times that I'm sat there thinking, holy shit, did that actually happen? And I had to remind myself that this is not a true story, but it's just so good. Obsessed, really love it. 5 out of 5 stars. It's very fastly become one of my top 10 books. So obsessed, really love it. I'm going to read his next one as well, which I think I've also got on Audible. Is it called Artium? Can't remember. But I'm going to read it. I love his style of writing. It's really good. 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. So got an outstanding in astronomy as well. So that's 3 outstandings. Care of Magical Creatures, an animal on the cover for Achievable. I read Poppy Field by Michael Morpurgo. I was trying to read that in the camera then, it's backwards. So there is a horse on the cover. So this is the story of poppies, where they've come about. It's also got the story of the poem, the famous poem that I can't remember who it's by, and I told myself I was going to research that. It's in here somewhere. I was going to research it and remember it so that I could tell you about it, but I've just obviously not done it. But the illustrations, I don't know if you can see that, the illustrations in this book are absolutely gorgeous. Everything is black and white apart from the poppies, and it's just beautiful. I love it. I'm just looking through to see if it'll tell me the name of the guy who I'm looking for. John McCrae in Flanders Field. So at the back it's got the full poem. But yeah, it's for Armistice Day, and it's in remembrance of everyone that's fallen and everyone that's fought and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's just such a beautiful book. I love the illustrations. I genuinely believe this is something that they should probably pass around in schools for history or something, and the kids would, I think, learn quite a lot from it. I was really surprised. It did have me crying at one point. It's just beautiful. Love the book. 5 out of 5 stars from me. Then I read, for a book under 160 pages even, I read Elevation by Stephen King. This hasn't got any magical creatures in it, but it's under 160 pages, so it counts. I've really enjoyed it. I have been struggling to find a Stephen King book that just wows me. I've read Pet Sematary, The Dark Tower. I have read a couple of comics. I prefer the comics. I've read the Dark Tower comic, which I'll talk about in a minute, which I prefer to the book itself. What else? I've read a couple of others, but I've not found anything that makes me go, oh my god, I get it. Like, this is why Stephen King is amazing. But I'm struggling to find something. I did enjoy this though. I thought it was quite good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was cool. Then finally, for Care of Magical Creatures, includes dragons in any way. So I read the comic Dragon Age, which does not have dragons in it so far. It may do in the second one, but it's got dragon on the title. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was alright. I enjoyed it. I may pick the next one up. I'm not sure. I do quite fancy finding out what happens next. But yeah, it was okay. Not too bad. I don't know if I'm fully a fan of the illustrations, but they were alright nevertheless. It was good. It was okay. it got me the outstanding for Care of Magical Creatures. That's all that matters. So next I went on to Charms. So for an acceptable and charms read a book with magic in it, I went for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling. I loved this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. I just loved that it's a screenplay. It's something different. I've never read a screenplay before. I loved that it took me back to the film. I remembered everything. There were some parts that I didn't remember, and I was like, oh my god, that's so funny. And it was just funny to read it as well, and I could just imagine like Newt saying certain things, and it was just really good. I really loved it. I fell in love with it, and I can't wait to read Crimes of Grindelwald now that I've seen it in the cinema. I didn't want any spoilers for myself, so I wanted to wait until I've been to see it to read it. So yeah, I love this. 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. Charms for Exceeding Expectations. A book with a cover that charms you, you would buy without knowing more about it. I read Tokyo Ghoul, which is a manga about a boy who gets bitten by a ghoul, and then he's slowly but surely turning into a ghoul, and it's his story about how he's dealing with that. So I think I'm probably going to pick up the second one and try and get into this a bit more. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. So yeah, I'm probably going to pick it up. Continue with it, I mean. But look at the boy's face. Considering he's I just really enjoy it. It's good. I enjoyed it. Charms, outstanding. A book that you think will leave a mark. I was trying to be clever with this one, and I went for something. I went for Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf, another Stephen King book that I read that I enjoyed, but I wasn't like, oh my god, wow, this is amazing. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It follows a werewolf whom you're not sure who it is at the beginning of the book, but by the end of the book you do find out, and it follows his 12-month cycle and who he's eating and all of that stuff. So yeah, it was alright. There's a couple of illustrations in the book. The book is quite a short book. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was okay, but didn't wow me. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing. So I got an outstanding in Charms as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Defense Against the Dark Arts for an acceptable. Read the last book in a series. So I've read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. I have now officially read all of the Harry Potter books, apart from The Cursed Child, obviously, in the series for the very first time ever, at the age of 28 years old, and I'm very proud of myself. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. All of these books get 5 stars out of me because I love them. I'm obsessed with them. I love Harry Potter. I have very fastly become a huge Potter fan. So yeah, loved it. I listened to it as well. I listened to, I think, the last 4. Just trying to look at my bookshelf, see which ones I think it's. So 1, 2. Yeah, I listened to like the last 4 because they're all quite thick. They're quite intimidating. So, and Stephen Fry's just fantastic. If you are unsure about whether or not to read these in person or listen to them, I do recommend listening to them. They are really good, and they're an easy listen as well. I probably one day go back and read them like in person, but I did love listening to them. I really enjoyed it. Then I read, for Exceeding Expectations, read a foiled book. I read Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. Oh dear, can you? You can clearly see that it's foiled. I loved this. I listened to this on Audible. That's better. I listened to it on Audible, which is read by Philip Pullman and a couple of other casts that do, like Lyra and some of the others. So I really enjoyed it. I have watched the film, and I prefer the book. I have also stolen the next 2 books off my dad, he's got the whole series, but I've stolen the next 2 books off my dad so I can read them at some point because I do want to carry on with it. I really enjoyed it. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Philip Pullman's narration was really, really good. I do enjoy when the author narrates the book because they're obviously narrating it from the heart. They know exactly what they're trying to say. They know exactly what they're trying to give to you as the reader at that point in time. So they know how to kind of portray that, if you like. It must be so difficult not being seen but only like being heard but not being seen, if you like. So I loved it. Philip Pullman's narration was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And then finally, for Defense Against the Dark Arts, book with the word dark in the title or series, I read The Dark Tower. the Red Dark Tower comics. They're in a little thing because there's 5 of them. So yeah, I read these and they were good. I gave them 4 out of 5 stars, which is more than what I gave the book because I didn't enjoy the book. I struggled with the book with the language, I think, but these helped because that, I don't know if it's because of the scene that was played out. This is the Wayward Station scene, so I don't know if it's the kind of the scene that was played out or not, but I didn't struggle with the language as much. Maybe it's because I've got pictures, but I'm not sure because the comics. But I did enjoy it. 4 out of 5 stars. It was alright, so yeah. So that's another outstanding, that's 6. Oh, I nearly lost my paper then, bloody hell. Then we moved on to Herbology, which is a book with a green cover. So I read Not a Drill by Lee Child, another Jack Reacher series. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. The short stories seem to be sort of following Jack in his younger years. So yeah, they're all right. I do enjoy them quite a lot, actually. And they're easy as well, the short stories. I don't think I've come across one that's more than about 45 pages. So they're quick, easy reads, and I do enjoy them. I quite like them. So yeah. A book with illustrations. I read Civil War, the Initiative comic. Do you know what? I read this the day before Stan Lee passed away. And I was really upset to find that I actually didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. I only gave it 2 stars, and I'm really sad about it. Because then I felt bad about rating it 2 stars, and then Stan Lee died. So, yeah, I mean, it was alright, but it's not what I was expecting. What can I say? They're not all going to be perfect, because I'm a huge, like, Avengers fan, and I just love Marvel. I'm obsessed with it. So, yes. Sorry, I just got a text off Hermes to say that my Boohoo parcel will be delivered soon. It distracted me. I apologise. Herbology, outstanding. Read a book with either one of these words in it in the title: light, air, sun or water. So I came across this just by complete accident. I was Googling because I was running out of time. I was coming towards the end of like my readathon and I really wanted to sort of get as many as I could. So I was looking for short stories and I just Googled like short stories with the word light in it or short stories with the word water in it, and I came across this book, short story called The Water That Falls on You From Nowhere by John Chu. And I didn't read anything about it at all, but it shocked me. It is it didn't shock me in the fact that the story is shocking. It shocked me in the fact that I wasn't expecting it to be about what it was about. So it does sort of cover LGBT sort of things, and it's just really good. It had me smiling. I did enjoy it. I really, really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It did have me smiling and it filled me up with warmth and stuff as well. It was just really, really cute. I enjoyed it. If you're into that kind of stuff, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was a nice surprise because obviously I hadn't intended to read it. I knew nothing about it. It was just really nice. I like when that happens. So another outstanding, so that's 7. And then I read History of Magic, a book that you think would fit right at home in the Hogwarts library. I read The Hobbit. Oh God, nearly hit myself in the face then. I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Why was that difficult? I read this, I started off reading it in the book, and then I read it on Audible. I listened to it instead. But this was after I'd watched my all 3 of the films. I'd done a Hobbit-a-thon, if you like, with my dad, where I spent an entire Sunday at my dad's and we just watched all of the Hobbits in one go. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. What I hadn't realised was that all of the Hobbit films are one book. I did not know that. I thought they were like the Lord of the Rings films where they were like a book each. I wasn't fussed, to be honest. I liked the films better than the book, which is very rare. I gave this, what did I give it? 2 out of 5 stars. I just didn't like it. I struggled to get into it. I got to the end literally for this readathon because I could not think of another book that could fit in the Hogwarts library, and I just wasn't fussed at all. Was not bothered. So yeah, wasn't impressed by that. I was hoping to be obsessed with it and really excited about it, and I wasn't. But I am gonna I am fully intending on reading the Lord of the Rings books anyway, because I think they might be better. History of Magic, Exceeding Expectations, read a book published at least 5 years ago. I read Oh My Goddess, which is another manga. I got this while I was at Botany Bay a few months back, maybe now. So yeah, it's a manga. It's number 18 in the series, so I haven't been introduced to these characters at all. I knew nothing about them. This was my first time with them. I quite enjoyed it. I gave it no, I didn't. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was alright. I may continue. If I see them cheaper, I don't think this was that cheap. I may have paid like, well, I don't know actually. I might have paid like £8 for it, which I suppose is cheap because it says on the back of it $17.95. So, I paid like £8 for it, I think. So maybe if I find some more, I might pick them up. But if I don't find any more, I won't be upset about it. Then for last but not least, for History of Magic, outstanding, a book of at least 400 pages. I read Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I hadn't read this before. Like, obviously I read this first and then the Deathly Hallows, but just the way I'm going through the list, whatever. You know what I mean. 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously it's Harry Potter. I really, really liked it. Really enjoyed it. It was really sad. And yeah, I was upset at this, and then I was crying at the Deathly Hallows, which was difficult because I was at work while I was listening to it. I was like, right, it's getting to a tough bit now. I'm going to have to wait until I get home to listen to the rest of this because I'm going to get upset. So yes, proud of myself still that I got through all the Harry Potter books by now already. No, proud of myself still that I've now got through all the Harry Potter books. That's where I'm going with that. Don't know what's wrong with my brain today. And then I was going to do Muggle Studies, but it tripped me up. Like right at the last minute, I was trying to get through it. I had like 75 pages left of The Price of Silver, and I'd already read the Exceeding Expectations book, which was Read a Biography, which I read Through a Mother's Tears by Kafka Field, which is about a mother who's got 3 daughters. The eldest one has a different dad to the younger 2, and there is quite a big age gap. The younger 2 are like best friends. They're almost like twins. And it's when they've grown up and they're in like they're married and they're in relationships and all sorts. They've moved out and all that lot. And the middle daughter gets killed. She gets murdered, and then the younger daughter ends up dying of a broken heart. So it's literally a story about that. It's a true story. It is a biography. So it was very, very sad. But it's a short read. It's like just over 100 pages, I think. So yeah, I read that, and then read a book written by one of your favourite authors. I just tripped myself up because at the very last minute I ended up switching books around to fit the books in that I'd already read, and then was trying to fit a book in that I could read, and I picked a Lee Child one, a short story one, which was James Penny's New Identity and Another Story or something, which was a short book, but like I managed to get through to the end of The Price of Silver, and then I had like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes of the evening left. My Kindle was telling me this was going to take 44, and then I still had to read a retelling, which was Swan Lake, which was 15 pages long. So it was pointless me reading that first before I'd read the James Penny one, because that was for outstanding. So I ended up running out of time at the very end and deciding not to push myself too much and give myself a headache, and just gave up and didn't do it. So then Transfiguration is the last one, which is a book with a grey cover for I thought I'd lost it then. Book with a grey cover for Acceptable, which I read Small Wars by Lee Child. That is grey. It looks blue, but it is grey. Another short Jack Reacher story. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I quite liked it. Another one that sort of brought Joe into the story again quite a bit. So Jack's brother. It was good. I thought it was all right. Exceeding Expectations, read a book from an author that you haven't read anything before. This was given to me from a guy at work, Haunted by James Herbert. He understands my love for books, not as much as I would like him to, but he gets it. So he lent me this. I listened to it on Audible because it was easier than reading the book itself. I just didn't have time. I had the time at work to listen to it on Audible. It was alright. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. It is the start of a series, I think. I'm not sure how many are in the series, but it was alright. Yeah, nothing to shout about. It was just okay. And then last but not least, I'm really glad this is... Oh no, this isn't my last book to show you, but I'm really glad this is my last book of the NEWTs because it is an amazing book. I am obsessed with this book. I got this book in a Fairy Loot box and I did the read along, which I failed at because I finished it about 3 days after everybody else, but nevertheless I took part anyway, and it's the first book that I've got in a subscription box that I've actually read when I've got it. So this was for outstanding to read a book that's set in a kingdom or has royals. This is set in a kingdom and has royals, and this is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan. So this is the Fairy Loot special edition with the pink pages. It's also signed. And even though I mentioned this in my update, my weekly update the other week, I'm going to mention it again, but there is a warning, a trigger warning in the front, I don't know how clear that is, in the front of the book that says, please be aware this book contains scenes of violence and sexual assault. So I have seen a couple of reviews on Goodreads when I went to review this. I have seen a couple of reviews on Goodreads say that they've picked the book up, got part way through and had to put it back down because there's triggers in it and there's no warning. There is a warning, just make sure you're looking in the couple of early pages to begin with, because it's not often you get a warning in a book, and it's really nice that there is a warning but people are just not looking for it. So it is in the first, so you've got that, there's the blank page, and then there's the page that says Girls of Paper and Fire where it's signed on mine, and then there's another page that says it again, and then there's another page that says it again. I'm not sure why there's so many pages, but it's then on that side. So it's like 1, 2, 3 pages in. Make sure you look for it beforehand, but don't complain it's not there when it is, please. I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. I loved everything there was about it. Some of the scenes were sort of made me feel a little bit sick, but it's all part of the book, and it was just really, really good. I love Natasha's writing. I'm definitely going to pick the next one up because I believe that this is going to be a series. I'm not sure how many, but I am excited for the next one. And yeah, it was such a good sort of well, this wasn't the last book I read. The last book I read was The Price of Silver, which again is such a fantastic ending to my readathon. But this was such a good book to have in my readathon. I really, really enjoyed it. So yes, obsessed with that series now, and Natasha's writing. She's amazing. So in total for my NEWTs, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 outstandings. And I failed at one subject, which was Muggle Studies. So I think I did all right, but that was not the end of my November wrap-up, because I also read The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. Can't remember how you pronounce this. This again was for Lalathon. It's a short story. I didn't know anything about it going into it, and the first few pages, if you've read this book, you'll fully understand why it shocked me to hell, because I wasn't expecting it. But it was good. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did think it was good. Quite like Gillian's. I think Gillian's correct. Whatever. Quite like her writing. I have read The Girl on the Train, and I enjoyed that. I refused to watch the film for it because I've heard so many bad things. But yeah, I quite like her writing. So I haven't read Gone Girl, but I might read it, I might not. Don't know. So yes, that is my wrap up for November, my wrap up for my NEWTs. And yeah, I hope this video isn't, she says 33 minutes, almost 34. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I enjoyed doing the readathon. I almost ended up in a slump partway through the month, but I just had to keep going. Luckily I had really good books keeping me going, like Girls of Paper and Fire, the Harry Potter books, Fantastic Beasts, The Price of Silver. Without those books, I probably would have ended up in a slump and not continued, but I'm really proud of myself that I ended up with 9 owls, and I'm excited to take part in the Magical Readathon for December, which is Christmas at Hogwarts. If you want to know more about that, I will link it below. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you've not already. I would really appreciate it, and I shall see you next time. Bye.